Hello, I'm Karma Kitaj, and I'm your host for A Livelihood, New Adventures as We Age. Today I'm going to introduce you to two women, Felice Shapiro and Ronna Benjamin, who have launched an online magazine called Better After 50, and they are also about to tell us about a new program that is coming up in March. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thanks, Karma.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. So where shall we start? I know that each of you have been involved in other things in your lives before you launched your magazine, right? So, and you're the official person who started all this, huh?
She is.
So Felice, tell us, how did it come to your mind to even do this?
So I would say that I've been an entrepreneur my whole working life, and my first venture was in print publishing. Mm-hmm. So the idea of Better After 50 was an outgrowth of where I'd come from in terms of loving the publishing world. And my first venture into publishing was in parenting magazines, so very, very niche publishing focused, dealing specifically with parenting and resources on a regional level. So Better After 50 became an opportunity when I started, I was teaching at Tufts University, and I was teaching students about launching businesses. And I was noticing that my story was a little old because it'd been 10 years since I'd sold the magazines. And I wanted to be a little more relevant, and I felt like my story was over. That particular story was over, and I wanted to get back into it. I felt very excited about taking a next step, and since I am my market, and now I was at midlife and crossing that threshold to 50, I began to look around to see what else was out there. Online publishing is very, very different than print publishing, and so I really needed to get comfortable with the whole online piece. Not that I hadn't been living online for quite a while, but in terms of publishing online, WordPress became the perfect technical tool to leap into the publishing world with. And so once I understood what WordPress was, I hired a web designer, and the two of us worked together for a couple months until we came out with the first prototype of what Better After 50 would look like, which was an aggregation of real stories by real women about this phase.
Well, Felice was doing her print magazine and going through her yoga training and all the things that she was doing. I was a real estate attorney. And so I went we actually went to the same high school, but didn't realize that until well after we had met. And and I went to college and then right to law school without any pause in between, and I became a real estate lawyer. I worked for a big firm downtown for a while, and then started with my family's real estate business as in-house counsel. The last 10 years or so, I really didn't love it. In fact, I would go beyond that to say I couldn't stand it. At least for the last few years, I couldn't stand it. I was just done. And I kept saying to myself, if I find something else that I love, I'm going to jump at it. But I didn't know what else I wanted to do. I was going through menopause, and I was up at night, and I started to write. And I found I loved it. I shared it with a few friends, and I made them laugh. And that gave me a little good feedback, and so I started to write some more. And I found I really loved it. And I started another little blog, didn't have any kind of a following, didn't promote it at all, but I needed someplace to put my writing. And then one day I get an email from a mutual friend of ours. And I looked at this email, and I just said, clicked on, and I saw Better After 50, and I read a few of the articles, and I said...
And you were over 50 by then, too?
I was, yeah. Just, not too much, but yeah. I was over 50, and I clicked on it, and I said, this is amazing. I have to write for this magazine. And so I submitted a few things, and the next within hours, I think, I get a phone call from Felice to say, I love your writing. You made me laugh and you made me cry, and we have to meet.
So
and
you both became
sort of
good writers then.
Well, we fell in love, you know, and I didn't know I was a good writer. I didn't even know I could write until, you know, people started telling me it was good.
So let's talk about some of the topics in the magazine. So what are the things that women over 50 want to hear about, do you think?
Well, if you go to like a wine bar or hang out at Starbucks and listen to a group of women talking, those are the topics.
It could be anything from politics to whether women over 50 are getting Brazilian waxes.
The hot topics are always going to be around body, self-improvement. Those are very, I mean, when you go to the grocery store and you see the same articles all the time on the magazines, and you're thinking, really, are they still, people are still buying like how to lose the 10 pounds and how to, you know, and how to look younger and how to deal with your wrinkles and how do you bring fire back into the bedroom? I mean, those topics are our topics as well.
We have a menopause expert. We have a sex expert, a sex over 50 expert. We have an ex expert, so somebody who gives advice about about dealing with an ex-spouse. We have a dating expert for women who are single again at this age for whatever reason.
We have a fashion newsletter that we put out on Fridays.
Friday. Yeah, and I write something humorous, or at least I try and be humorous. So I think part of the goal of each week is to have something that's going to hit somebody emotionally, and something that's going to make them laugh, at least. So you laugh, you cry, and it's just like having a nice, wonderful, meaningful coffee with a friend.
Yeah. Now, do either of you have a post that you would like to share? Just the story?
I just wrote something that kind of went viral a little bit on the 33 mistakes that all women make over 50. And it's funny. It's written, all my stuff is written sort of tongue-in-cheek.
Did you know it was going to be 33 when you started?
No. Well, it started out by, I looked at, I was on Facebook, and a 30-year-old, a woman who was 30 years old, that's the daughter of my friend, just posted an article that was in Cosmo that was the 20 mistakes that all women make in their 20s. And I read them and I went, oh, I still make at least half of those mistakes. I took the ones of those mistakes that I was still making, and then I added to them, and I got a lot of friends to give me input. And so I got so many, it was so much fun because I got so many comments. From,
so a lot of people could really relate to your idea of all the mistakes.
Yeah.
And any that you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, so my brain is a little bit like LIFO, last in, first out. So I could tell you the last one. It had to be in the last month. So the badass goals for 2014 were really very typical of my kind of writing because I talk about reinvention a lot and just how to stay motivated, get motivated, and so just challenging myself again and looking at this next place and how a bunch of friends and I were together looking at our goals and our New Year's resolutions and how we fail at most of them and what's going to be different this time around. And so I love that piece. People are clicking on. They clicked on it when it came out, and they keep clicking on it because I think everybody wants to challenge themselves that way. So I think it's one that's good.
The last few minutes that we have here, let's talk about the upcoming She Did It program.
Okay.
Love to, because we're very excited. You're so good at talking about it. So I'm going to give that to you at least to start.
So She Did It. She Did It is an event that we created And our first one was in Boston in November of 2012. And we were amazed that it sold out. We had 250 women come. And the event was dedicated to women taking their next step. And it was a lot happened at the event in one big room. And there was a group exercise and people were networking. And that was great. And we took that event and brought it to New York and changed it a little bit and broke out into some workshops. A little bit, big room, and then broke out into some workshops. And people liked that, and they kept saying more workshops.
We want more workshops.
So this next event on March 24th, for anybody who's been to the Boston event, they should, and they think this is still a topic that's interesting to them. This will be very different from the last one. We have 4 workshops in the morning that are dedicated to your work in terms of what is your next step in terms of work. Everything from getting a job to making a living in a difference, meaning giving back or finding some kind of social entrepreneurial work you might want to do and make a living at the same time, to I don't even know what I want to do. And if people go on to shedidit.com, they will see the agenda, and they will see
It's a little synopsis of what each workshop is about.
yeah.
And as you've told me, this, all that you do has to do with possibility for women as they reach the middle to older years. Huh?
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
That word possibilities is like, it makes you stand up a whole lot taller. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
This has been fun.
I hope you have a wonderful program with She Did It.
Well,
We
thank
hope
you.
to. Yeah, thank you.
We're excited about it.